Well, Steeler fans, your long awaited nightmare is finally here. Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell are both playing in the Super Bowl while your Pittsburgh Steelers are at home watching. Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell are both playing in the Super Bowl against each other while your Pittsburgh Steelers are at home watching, which guarantees one of them will be a Super Bowl champion, something that they could not accomplish as a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. That nightmare exists. That nightmare is finally here, and that nightmare is how we cap off this 2020 season, which certainly was asinine for the world, but asinine for the Pittsburgh Steelers, maybe more than anybody else here. Is early February 2021, not really a better year, I guess, for Steeler fans, as they will get Antonio Brown versus Le'Veon Bell in the Super Bowl. But on this episode of Mic Drop here on Pittsburgh Sports Live and, of course, SteelersNow.com, I'm your host, Mike Asti, as always, and I'm here to tell you why the hatred Steeler fans feel and the anger and animosity Steeler fans feel and the bitterness Steeler fans feel. And even though these two players are not key contributors to their teams, and these teams were able to win their conference championship games without them, so it's not like we're looking at a Super Bowl MVP here. It's not like anyone can't ding this ring, even though it'll look the same for whoever would win. But Steeler fans grouping these two together is wrong, and it is just not fair. The hatred Steeler fans feel for these two, I get it in a way, but it's founded for one and not founded for the other. And in particular, Le'Veon Bell should not be grouped in with Antonio Brown in terms of the hatred, the venom, and really even the bitterness of Pittsburgh Steeler fans. Once again, bottom of the video, as I always tell you, click that subscribe button. Helps us get our content to you. It's free to do so and certainly very, very easy. And you don't even have to follow us on Twitter, but if you want to, at MikeOsti11 down there to follow me. If you just click that subscribe button, you'll get a notification when any of our content here on Pittsburgh Sports Live on our channel goes live and is released, or goes live, as we certainly do now with Pittsburgh postgame after any of the games for any of those teams covered throughout the Pittsburgh Sports Now family of networks. But Le'Veon Bell, yeah, he kind of screwed the Steelers in a way. Yeah, he put himself first above the team. Yeah, I get it. It was annoying. I was covering it. I get it. It was a drama. I get he wasn't really treating the team as you, the fan, maybe would have liked him to do so. And again, this is that conversation on whether it worked or not, whether he was right or not, is for another show, which I've touched on countless times before. It's all through the archive of the channel and the site. Le'Veon Bell didn't get as much money as the Steelers initially offered. He clearly didn't have a fun time with the New York Jets. And now he's with the Chiefs, but clearly not raking in the money, which was his entire mindset. And the Steelers are not hurt by losing Le'Veon Bell necessarily. He's not been nearly what he was. He's a shell of his former self. Yes, they need to run better, but adding Le'Veon Bell based on what he's been the last 2 years certainly would not have been the answer. And paying tons of money for a running back certainly wouldn't have helped the team with all their needs. That wouldn't have been the answer. So it didn't really work for what Le'Veon Bell was trying to do, but we'll leave that for another day. But I get being annoyed that he wanted to put himself ahead of the team. I get that not playing for a year when you were supposed to, regardless of what happened the year after, sucks. Because the Pittsburgh Steelers fans wanted to have another year of Le'Veon Bell in all likelihood. And that would have been nice to have him on that team at that time, when you thought at that time he was still an elite back in the National Football League. And I get maybe there was some disrespect there. I get it. And you can say he was wrong all you want, and you can say he didn't get what he wanted all you want. And you can say he was a me-first guy all you want. I'm not really disputing any of that. But again, that's for maybe another show, and it's been touched on countless times before, and I'm sure it will still be again. But Le'Veon Bell was putting business ahead of team. Le'Veon Bell didn't want to kill himself and really take years off of his lifespan as a football player because, and that's where he makes his money, and money is what he cares about, because the running back position, which is why they shouldn't have paid him the tons of money that he wanted, doesn't have a long shelf life. He knows that. Running backs know that. That's why they want to rake in as much cash as they can. And the more carries, the more tackles, the more car crashes you're in, as it's often compared to, it puts that in jeopardy. It puts injuries, etc. This is not like Major League Baseball where you're just locked in and can rake in money even if something happens to you. And it's hard for teams to even void things if you have some criminal issue. It ends up being where you're getting the money once you sign, basically, at some point. The NFL, if you get hurt, they can drop you, and you're basically just getting your signing bonus. You're not getting the rest. That's why you wanted your signing bonus to be a little bit higher. Again, it's all a business for Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell did not want to kill himself for a team that he wasn't going to be with in the future, that clearly didn't want to have him in the future. He thought, even though they did offer him a deal, or in his eyes, not a fair deal. And even if you think it was, he didn't feel he was going to be there, so why kill himself at that point? He wanted the guaranteed money that Antonio Brown already received. Antonio Brown, again, got the mega deal. And I'm not saying you shouldn't give it to a receiver over a running back at that point, but he got that mega deal. So his indiscretions, his drama, his insanity that revved up and led to his Steeler exit was after he had a mega deal. Le'Veon Bell was looking for that mega deal. So while it was annoying, I get it. Le'Veon Bell was thinking of the business first, above the team. So I get hating that as a Steeler fan. But Antonio Brown was doing that and then some, and that's an understatement, to be honest. And I covered it. I was right there. I was staying up at 3 a.m. tracking his Instagram live to wait to see if he would call somebody else a racist, because that was part of covering Antonio Brown at a certain point. This is an Antonio Brown that blocked me personally, and I'm credentialed. I'm in media. I have a professional career, but I'm certainly not the top of the line in terms of covering the Steelers, and yet he was bothered by what I was saying on shows across different networks. Antonio Brown's a guy who I've dealt with drama across different media outlets over the years, and a guy that I've dealt with face-to-face personally and had an interaction that led to myself and him being in a little bit of a drama as well, where I was recording him saying nothing, and he thought that was going to go be my coverage, and it probably would have been, and then I spurned him on to actually talk to us after that Jacksonville playoff loss. And that was just the beginning. Of course, we know that his interaction with Ed Bouchette, who is the top of the line, he is the Hall of Famer. He has the Hall of Fame vote. He is one of the nicest guys I've been around, really, in media, calling him a clown when he was just trying to do his job. But that's not even the tip of the iceberg again. Hating a media member and going at it with a media member, it happens. I've also defended T.O. up and down. He should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. Him and the media went at it. So I'm not somebody in media who feels like the media should hold grudges personally and screw a guy. Myself, Ed, I'm sure he will. You leave that go. I do even believe Antonio Brown's a Hall of Famer. Le'Veon Bell's not going to get there. But Antonio Brown didn't just think of himself first and the business first like Le'Veon Bell. I get that's fine. It is a business. You'd rather them think of the team, but not professional athletes. Not all professional athletes are going to do that. Not today. This isn't years ago. And the team would think of themselves above the individual as well. If these guys aren't getting it done, they would drop them as well and wouldn't throw them the cash then. So I get it. I really, really do. But Antonio Brown did that by, as I said, calling the quarterback a racist, completely unfounded accusations, nothing to back that up, but yet calling the Hall of Fame quarterback a racist, a teammate of his still at that time, throwing the Rooney family under the bus, embarrassing one of the most distinguished families in the history of professional sports, certainly the NFL, who's done a lot even for African-American athletes in the African-American community with the Rooney Rule, etc. Didn't respect them in any way. Didn't really give respect to Mike Tomlin, who is the most successful African-American coach of all time and has won a championship. And again, we'll leave the criticism there, which I've touched on a recent show about his standing now for another day. But you would figure these are guys he would respect. Didn't respect them. Antonio Brown also has been accused of sexual assault, and I'm not saying he's guilty of it because we don't know. There's certainly some proof out there if you believe that, but he wasn't found guilty. I'm not a guilty until proven innocent guy, so we'll leave that be. But again, in comparison between the two dudes as people, I certainly believe Antonio Brown is a much worse guy. I believe Le'Veon Bell is a good dude. He's honestly a good, fun-loving dude. I think he cares about money and fame a lot more than football. I think if he could make that money as a rapper, he would do it ahead of football. He wants to be on a good team. He wants to rake it in, but he wants to just do it for money. It's beginning to an end for his individual money and career, and he put that ahead of the team. Sucks, but that's just Le'Veon Bell, okay? He's not a bad guy. Antonio Brown's a bad dude. I can throw that out there. He's a bad dude. He's a bad guy. in my opinion, from what I've been around and what I heard and what I know about him. And again, all the accusations and sexual assault doesn't even go the tip of the iceberg in terms of his accusations against women just in general. And again, accusations, not saying he's guilty, but still not on Le'Veon Bell. You don't see those on Le'Veon Bell. Nothing Le'Veon Bell did involved the police, involved the legal system. Nothing Le'Veon Bell did almost led to a child, a baby being killed. Let's not forget Antonio Brown throwing furniture off a balcony in one of his fits of lunacy and almost killing a baby, and that being something. Let's not forget the speeding and the issue there in McKnight Road over there in Pittsburgh. And yeah, I've sped before, but still the police involved yet again with Antonio Brown. Throwing the quarterback under the bus, attacking your head coach, disrespecting your ownership, who offered you the mega deal that Le'Veon Bell did not get and Le'Veon Bell wanted. Dogging it at the end of a season, being missing in action for that week 17 at the end of his Steelers tenure. That's why the Steelers didn't get more for him, which was criticized then, but we saw it took a year and a half before he really got going again. He's still not nearly what he was. He's a great receiver. He's one of the best when healthy and when sane, but he hasn't been able to be that. Didn't have anything with Oakland, didn't play a regular season game with them. Had that New England tenure that was one game and they then cast him off because they didn't know about everything that I'm telling you now that we seemingly knew about. He kind of kept a lot of that quiet, didn't fully disclose. Belichick wouldn't put up with it. And him and Brady will find you somebody that'll forgive you for pretty much all your faults and look the other way like Tom Brady will for Antonio Brown. But Tom Brady wants Antonio Brown. He wants great players around him, certainly. Got sick of having to do it for a while without great players around him in New England. He's done it with great players. He's done it without. He wanted to have great players, wanted an easier road here with weapons around him with Tampa. Gets into a Super Bowl. Antonio Brown there, despite missing the NFC title game, and at times showing how great he still is. So it's not like Antonio Brown, again, is not an elite player, and to be that good after basically a year off is even more incredible for the shape he's in and his football acumen. But it took him a while. So that's why the value wasn't there for the Steelers in the trade. But all that craziness, and that doesn't even get to everything, all that craziness that Antonio Brown forced upon the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Steelers had to endure. And maybe you could say Tomlin allowed some of this. That's been a criticism of him over the years, but some also say he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for dealing with all of that. Not the same as Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell wanted his money. He didn't want to kill himself until he got his money. He put business and himself ahead of the team. I get it sucks as a fan, but he's not a bad guy. Antonio Brown just was a lunatic and really an ass clown, to put it bluntly. And hopefully I don't end up on another rating here that crashes us on Pittsburgh Sports Live, because I couldn't not add that one in. That's really what Antonio Brown is. Antonio Brown became an ass clown and a jackass, and that's really how to describe him well. And we like revenue on these shows, and that won't help it. But that's just the truth with Antonio Brown, okay? Antonio Brown and his infractions weren't just against the Steelers. They weren't about football. They weren't about his business. His business and craziness actually hurt him money-wise. It was about just him being mentally unstable, and you can say it was concussions. You could say it's just crazy, but it was way too far. It was way too far. And the Steelers' hands were tied. They couldn't possibly keep him in that point. I thought they should have bumped him way before they did and shouldn't even went down to Florida to try to beg him to stay. That was almost a stand against the Steelers that they cared so much and tried to keep him so much. But as Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown are set to square off, with one of them guaranteed to become a world champion, a Super Bowl champion, and have that, certainly if it's Antonio Brown, more so than Bell, who these days are gone for him. Antonio Brown, Hall of Famer, the numbers are there. One of the best receivers of all time, certainly of his era, transcendent, elite, revolutionary, did it all, better than others in his era. That could be said. Certainly for a small period of time, he was the best in football. And Steelers fans who hate him now said that then, so don't deny it. And from his humble beginnings, I get it. And I get his size didn't dictate that either. This isn't Randy Moss out there. This isn't the muscular build of a T.O., even though, obviously, A.B. certainly in shape. But there's reason to not like him. There's reason to hate him. There's reason to be annoyed by him. He's not a good guy. He gives you plenty to say that. It's not me just making this up. It's not a vendetta that I have as a media member who's covered him. Okay? He's given you that as his body of work. And it's not the same as Le'Veon Bell. So Steeler fans, I get being bitter. I get not liking it. You can deny it, but obviously this isn't the best result you'd want based on your year and now getting these two against each other, knowing the result. But if you have to pick, I'm rooting for Le'Veon Bell. I'd rather see Le'Veon Bell get a ring. I mean, it's not to say that he really cares about the ring. I don't think either one of these two guys live their life wanting that ring. They want respect. They want money. They didn't get as much money as they wanted. They didn't get the respect that they wanted. So they didn't really accomplish their initial goals. But in comparison between who's a better guy and who's more likable, who I'd want to be around and have a beer with, I'd hang out with Le'Veon Bell. I don't even want to be around Antonio Brown, even if he turns it around. I can't forget what happened. So the hatred, the venom, I get it in a way, but Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, not the same guy, shouldn't be grouped together with each other. Their Steelers drama, their Steelers tenure exit, completely different. And while it's doomsday and they're playing against each other in the Super Bowl, there's a lot more reason to be okay, at least, with Le'Veon Bell getting a ring than, of course, Antonio Brown. Once again, make sure to hit up all these episodes of Mic Drop here, right here, Pittsburgh Sports Live, bottom of this video. Click that subscribe button, mash that button, makes it easy for us to get our content to you. And of course, thanks to our sponsor, or sponsors, many of those plural, it is free to do so. And also hit up the family of networks, Pittsburgh Sports Now, SteelersNow.com for this show, and also throughout our family of networks at PGH Sports Live, here for Pittsburgh Sports Live, on Twitter at PGH Steelers Now, as well as both on Facebook for SteelersNow.com. And again, they just weren't the same. Stop grouping Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown together. They just weren't the same. Antonio Brown, crazy, a bad dude. Le'Veon Bell, selfish. It's not the same.